kind of want to talk about as we move into the cow perfect strong verbs. If we go back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, God saw all that he had made. Asa is the verb. All that he made, and behold, it was very good. In the biblical Hebrew, cow perfect forms expresses completed kind of action. We talked about that last week. It's in English, we emphasize not so much how things are done, but we focus on when things are done, and that's why we focus on the tenses, the
present,
past, present, and future. Thank you. Yeah, and but in Hebrew, the tense, the time tense, the temporal, is really found within the context, not within the verb. The verb doesn't express a tense. It expresses an aspect that really more is about how the action is viewed, whether in reality or in the mind, but how the action is viewed. It's a completed action, ongoing kind of action, or maybe a repeated or a repetitive kind of action kind of thing, or maybe it's a state of an event. And so the cow perfect expresses a completed action. When we get to the other conjugations, perfect conjugation, we get to the imperfect conjugation. The two main ones are perfect, expresses a completed kind of action, where imperfect, which we'll get to in about 2 weeks, I think. No, yeah, in about 2 weeks, we'll get to that, and then it will express an ongoing kind of action. But the cow perfect focuses or emphasizes or kind of depicts something finished, something that's whole, something that's brought to its intended end, its intended purpose. It's not about time, past, present, or future, but about aspect. That is the kind of action or the action that is viewed in the text. So when you look at a cow perfect, you're really examining and looking at something that's already been completed. Now, it may have been completed in the past, it may be completed in the present, it may be completed in the future. That's a little hard concept for us to deal with sometimes, but we do that in English. We use a lot of helping words. But we generally translate as something that will be completed in the past. It's a finished work, not a process still in motion. Now, although it's a finished work, the effects of that work may still be ongoing. And so when Scripture says "Asa," he made, it declares a completed creation. Nothing was left undone. God's work reached its purpose, its goal. And so when we think about this perfect aspect, Hebrew verbs reveal something. Well, it's not fair to say they reveal something about God's character, but they often can. I don't believe grammar reveals something about God's character, but grammar does give us an understanding about God's character. He is a God of completion. In creation, he finished his work and rested, Genesis 2:2. In redemption, Christ cried out from the cross, "It is finished." The Greek word there is tetelestai, and it carries the same kind of Hebraic perfective aspect. It's something that was completed, it's done, and but it has an ongoing effect, of course. And so this task was accomplished, and every act of God, whether you're talking about in creation, whether in saving, whether it's sustaining, can be expressed and often is expressed in completion. And it's not something that's done in chaos, but something done that reminds us that God does not start what he does not finish. So for us, the cow perfect can express in its language something sort of mimics or mirrors or gives something about who God is. God's promises are as good as done, right? When he says, "I have redeemed you," in Isaiah 43 verse 1, that's Ge'el Tika, then I have redeemed you. It's a perfect form. It's a completed action. So even before we experience it in God's aspect, in God's mind, it's already accomplished, right? And so when we doubt his plans or we doubt our progress in his plans, the perfect reminds us that God's perfective aspect don't wobble between a maybe or someday. His word is steady. His word is perfect. His word is complete. So the next time, as we dive into the Hebrew verb forms of the conjugations, the perfective aspect, the perfect form, the perfect conjugation, just remember that what God begins, he completes. What he speaks, he fulfills. What he promises, he perfects. And we are living in the unfolding of a perfect verb, the finished work of a faithful God. It is he made, it is finished. And so we live in the results of that perfect God in the perfective aspect. And I think it helps us to think a little bit about our Creator and the language that he chose to use. I don't believe the language in itself reflects him, but the language in itself can mirror the characteristics of him. So I think we see that in the perfective aspect. We see that carried in the Hebraic thought. When you think about the Greek that our Lord used, he oftentimes either spoke Aramaic, possibly Hebrew, maybe Greek. Certainly the language we're given is written in the Greek, but the underlying, a lot of that of the Pauline writings of Jesus's words are Hebraic thought. And Hebraic thought doesn't necessarily think or emphasizes, it's not that they don't think about time, it emphasizes not time, but it emphasizes the kind of action. And in this case, the perfective aspect is a completed action, and oftentimes with ongoing results. So let's dive into our class today, and I'm going to see. I think am I already sharing? Let me make sure I'm sharing here. I think I'm sharing already. You could see. Yeah, I want to change the form though. Let me do that. Okay. Here we go. Share. All right. I think that'll work. I think I'll do this. Okay. All right. All right. Can you see the slide more completely without me in the way? Okay. All right. Better to see the slide than me. That's what my wife tells me. All right. That was my joke. All right. So let's begin. And we're going to do chapter 13, pretty much follow the format of 13. But before we do, our emphasis here is on the cow strong, perfect, cow perfect conjugation, the cow stem, the perfect conjugation, and the strong verb. Remember, strong means there are no weak consonants. There's no gutturals. There's no geminate. There's no first noon, first yod, any of these kind of things. So they're not likely to change. And that makes it so much easier for all of us. When we talk about verbs, and we kind of touched on this last time, but now I want to graphically represent it. We are looking at the relationship between the root, the stem, and the conjugation. So, and I'm going to go with this a little deeper here. So when we talk about, and this we did go over, the binyan or the binyanim would be the plural form, right? It refers to the stem, the root here, like a tree, and we have the binyan, more of our trunk, our stem, and then we have these various conjugations, okay? And so that's really the relationship between them. The root is our foundation. The binyan, the stem, is gives us the voice and gives us the type of action, the aspect. And then the conjugations are going to tell us about whether it's a completed action or an ongoing action or a command or some other infinitive form, an absolute or construct state, or participle form. And so we'll go more in depth in that as we move forward with this. And so when we think about it, I want to back up to nouns for a minute. You remember nouns, right? I've been drawing these boxes forever because I think it makes a big difference. Root position number 1, position number 2, and position number 3. And so we could put basically any consonant here. Let's see. And we could put any consonant there. And then we could do what? We could put the verbs, like, and we get a word, right? Davar. But without the, excuse me, I don't want that. Okay, now we really just have the root, right? The consonantal form, the triconsonantal. And we can add to that the vowels, right? Like the two comates here, and we get now the root has a meaning and of its or carries a meaning, but it doesn't really express the meaning until you put it in its context. And when you put it in its context, you're going to include the vowels, and so you get the word davar. So davar would be, word, meaning, things, that kind of stuff. But we can add, and we talked about putting prefixes to a noun, right? What kind of prefixes can we put to a noun? Anybody know? What kind of prefix can we put to a noun?
Suffix or prefix?
Prefix. What kind of prefix, right? Prefix is before, right here.
Vav,
Okay.
Shiva.
All right. So we could put the Shiva, and that would give us the meaning and, right? Typically, well, not the. I put the short here. So the. What else?
Hey.
Huh? The
You
hey,
can also
right?
write
The
hey.
definite article, right?
Definite.
So that, which means the. So we can put those kind of prefix to it, right? What else can we? What can we do with? Oh, I meant to take the. Oh, I'm in the wrong. No wonder. Hold on. I don't want that there. Come on. There we go. All right. So we could put the and. Let me get here. Man, this is very touchy here. I think I got. Okay, I got to touch it over there. That's what it is. Okay, so we put the Shiva meaning and we could put the. It is very touchy. I don't like that. The hey, kamete, right, with the dogish, meaning the. What about suffixes? What will we put for a suffix for now? All right, prefix, we could do like the definite article. We could also do really what a preposition, right? In.
Plural endings.
Plural endings, exactly right. Yeah. So let me finish this so we can use that, or we can use the lamed. So we can all those kind of prefixes, right? And here we can use the plural endings. But more than plural, we can also determine gender, right? This is ending list. Well. If it's ending list, it's a masculine singular noun, right? If we put the let's do plural endings because you already mentioned that. So for masculine plural, we use what?
Yod and mem.
Yod and mem.
I'm.
Yod and mem.
Hold on, I can't draw. There we go. That's what I want. Yod and here Yod mem, final mem, right? That'd be the plural for masculine, right? For what would singular, of course, would be for a masculine noun is just ending list. There's nothing, right? It's already singular. Singular for a feminine would be what?
Okay, yeah.
Right? Or
Tav.
right? Or what was the other one? Is there one more tav? It's a tav.
I believe it is a commits head, commits dead.
Okay, probably.
Tav,
Yeah,
sorry.
Right. You're probably right. There we go. I don't know. No, I think there's one more. There's something I'm missing. If I was a Hebrew teacher, I'd know the answer, but I'm not, so I'm just making it up. Hold on. So chapter 2 on page. That's why we got a book. I use it a lot. on page oh, it's in chapter 3. That's why I couldn't find what I'm looking for. That's in chapter 3. Has to be.
It's chapter 4 with the
Chapter
nouns.
4. Yeah, you're right. There it is, page 27. Right. So the Padaktov, the Sigoltov, the Hirik Yod. That's what I was thinking of. So it could be the Yod Hirik. All right. So basically, here's my point. We're already used to adding suffixes, and we're already used to adding prefixes to nouns. We also add pronominal suffix. You remember our pronominal suffix, like the holem vav and the hey, kamates, and then the what was it? For a plural, the cough, final mem with the sigol. So we're already used to doing prefixes here and suffixes here, right? We're going to do the same thing with verbs, but they function differently, obviously. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We have our root, right? Now, before we had davar. That's not right. Okay, touch over here. There we go. I'm learning. I'll get there eventually. You guys be patient with me, okay? All right. And what we're going to do when we're, especially when we're in the Calva, we're going to put our verbs like here, our nouns or vowels, kamate, and this time we use a potic here. And then we're going to put prefixes to it or suffixes to it. And the suffixes are going to tell us what number, gender, and person is, right? Third masculine singular, third feminine singular, second masculine singular, second feminine singular, first common singular. That would be I or we. That would be you. That would be you. That would be, she and he. And then we'd also do the same thing with the plural, right? So we're used to doing this. We're just now going to do it, and it's going to refer to our number, gender, and person. And we're going to continue to put vowels in here, but these vowels are going to be very specific and very important. And we're going to use prefixes. The prefixes are going to help us see what conjugation is being used. So we will put different prefixes here. We'll talk about that later. Okay. So we're really doing the same thing. That's kind of what I want you to see. Understanding these root consonantal forms, and then recognizing what vowels are here and what they're adding in the suffix and what they're adding in the prefix will just help you tremendously. But if you could find these roots, consonants, the triconsonantal roots, man, you've gone a long way to understanding what's being said there. Any questions so far? All right. So when we talk about the root, here's our root. Root would be, it's not a word per se, it's a root. It carries a meaning. The root is mem, lamed, kaf, final kaf. So it's 1, 2, 3. Root position 1, root position 2, root position 3. From that meaning from mem, lamed, kaf forms nouns. So we were familiar with the nouns. Melech. Melech is, of course, king. Melka, queen. Melkut, kingdom. But it also, we get the verb forms. And so we get malek, to reign. In this case, we use to reign. It's not infinitive. It's just a way to express it's a verbal form. So to reign, but what we're really saying right here, this is a 3ms, and it really says he reigned. And that's how we would translate that.
Brother Dave.
Yeah.
So this works with every noun as well, or not all of them? Like they can be with depending of the vowels can be a verb, and depending can be the noun, or not? Not exactly.
You mean for other roots and other words?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say every single root has a verbal form. That's not true. But most roots can both derive a noun and a verbal form. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Or an adjective, right? So, yeah, so this is a typical sort of hierarchy, or not hierarchy is not the right word, but when we talk about the root, the stem, and the conjugations, right? The root there, and in noun forms, it does this, right? We get a various nouns that are built from king, queen, and kingdom. But verbs, we're going to see more of this. We're going to see the stem, and like the cow, and then we're going to see various conjugations like the perfect, and so forth. So yeah, and the answer to your question is not every root will also form necessarily a verb. I'm going to memory. I don't believe that to be the case, but most will. Does that help? All right, so here's where we get it. We have the root, and typically in grammar, we start with this katal is going to be the word that we're going to use. And ultimately, katal, the root, the cough, the tav, or the tet, excuse me, and the lamed, that would be our root. It carries the meaning to kill. Now, it doesn't have the meaning until you put it in its context. And when you put it in its context, you're going to do two things. You're going to put it in a stem, and you're going to put it in a conjugation. You have to do both. And so in the stem, the cow stem, there's katal, and that happens to be the cow stem, and then it also happens to be the perfect conjugation. But all of these other stems, the nifal, the pl, the puel, the hipil, the hopefal, the hipfil, and the hipil are all derived stems from the cow. And what's so great about that is once you learn how the cow stem is formed, all this, we're going to do some memorization, some paradigms on some of those suffixes and some of those prefixes. You have to know those, right? But once you know them, they apply all to here. You don't have to learn them again. And we'll learn how to recognize the difference later on. So there is sort of a pattern here. And we start with a root, the triconsonant root. We can, on a verb, we can form the call stem as the base, the foundation, and all the other stems, the nifal, the pl, the puel, hipil, hopil, and hipil, all are derived from that. And to that, we can add any of these conjugations, any of them. Now, not all of these have every single conjugation, but we can add. They can be applicable. Okay, so that's what we're going to be learning the next few weeks. And so in this lecture, we're going to cover the cow stem. We're going to look at the basic function of the perfect or suffix conjugation. It's called the suffix conjugation because to know, there's 1, 2, 3. We'll put our verbs, our vowels, and then we're going to add suffixes to know if it's 3ms, he killed, 3fs, she killed, 2ms, you killed, singular, 2fs, you, her, girl killed, and so forth, or plural, or first common plural, we killed, that kind of thing. Excuse me one second. Oh, sorry about that. All right, and so the perfect is the very first one we're going to learn. It's a suffix because we're basically adding suffixes to it. So it's sometimes called the suffix conjugation because we're going to add a suffix, and that's going to tell us that it's functioning in the perfect, and we'll know not only that it's a completed type of action with an active voice. We know it's an active voice because it's in the cow stem. And perfective, we know it's completed. And in the perfect, we know it's a completed kind of action. And then we'll know by the suffixes who's doing the action. He's doing it, she's doing it, they doing it, I'm doing it, you're doing it, we're doing it. That's how we'll know. So the cow perfect strong verbs, we're going to look at that paradigm, and it's really easy to memorize, I'm telling you. And then we also look at stative verbs, right? You can have transitive verbs where the subject does the action, but who receives the action that would be the object, right? Subject, verb, object. The object receives the action, and that would be a transitive verb. It's transferring the action from the subject to the object. You can have an intransitive, in other words, there is no action to transfer. And you have stative verbs. Stative verbs are more like is, was, they're to be verbs, or love, he loves her, that type of thing. And then we're going to talk about the negative particle, the lo. So when we get to the cow stem and the perfect conjugation, we're going to basically use this very specific particle to say no or not. And that's what we're going to cover all those things today. I do think you'll find this one of the easier chapters. I hope, if I don't mess it up. And here's the fascinating thing about the cow stem. 69% of the Hebrew Bible is on the cow stem. Out of approximately more than 72,000 verbs, 50,000, approximately thereabouts, more than, are in the cow stem. And so it's very prominent and it's very recognizable. As we mentioned before, the cow stems are active in voice and simple in kind of action. So the stem tells us the kind of action. It's simple, it's intensive, it's causative, and the cow refers to simple. It also tells us the kind of the voice. It's active voice, passive voice, reflective voice. Well, cow is active with a simple kind of action, kind of unnuanced, they say. He killed. It's just a statement. It's a simple kind of action. She killed. He studied. She studied. We studied. There's a simple, unnuanced kind of action. If you wanted to say he destroyed, he slaughtered, that would be more intensive. Or he, caused them to die, that would be more causative. Well, the cow is only going to tell us the simple kind of action, active voice. And so it can be further divided into transitive, intransitive, and stative. Let's go over that. The prophet wrote the book. Well, the prophet is our subject. Wrote is the verb. And what did the prophet write? If you were to say the prophet wrote, you'd be going like, finish the sentence. The prophet wrote what? Because it almost demands an object. What did the prophet write? I want to know. And so, well, the prophet wrote the book. That's the object. So you have the subject doing the action, right? And the object receiving the action of the verb. So that's typical or transitive type. Intransitive, where the verbs cannot take an object. The king perished. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. There's no need, there's no object that would even apply. Now, here we have a preposition in battle. It tells us when he perished, but it's not an object of having perished. So the king perished would be, there's no object to receive the action. So the king perished in battle. In battle is not receiving the action, it's describing when the perishing occurred. And so we have our subject and our verb, and there's no object. And the stative is also more our to be verbs, is, was, will be, all those kind of things. There's really no action at all. It's just talking about the state of really the relationship of the verb, of the noun. The priest is old. There's no action associated with it. So it's just called a stative verb. So that's important to know. You have transitive verbs, intransitive, and stative. Fairly basic grammar, but a lot of times we just don't think about it. And most of us know it, we just don't really think about it. Any questions so far? All right, we're good. You didn't know you're getting a course of English grammar, did you? All right, let's talk about the perfect conjugation. The conjugations we're going to go over, there's really 7 main ones, right? The perfect, the imperfect, the imperative, the infinitive absolute, the infinitive construct, and the participle. But there's some others, Joseph, and something else that we will touch on. But the 2 main ones are perfect and imperfect. Those are the 2 main ones. And the perfect is it's also called, we mentioned, the suffix conjugation. And it talks about the verbal aspect. Remember, we're not dealing with time here. We're dealing with the kind of action. What kind of action is it? Well, it signifies an action that is in its conclusion. In the mind of the speaker and the reality, or from the writer, it's something that's already completed. And so we almost always translate it in the past, but it can be translated in the present or future. And then matter of fact, that's what this says, translating it by past tense, he studied. That's typically what we do. But in the present perfect, he has studied. We put this little helping verb, and now it's still past, but it's in the present period. Our past perfect, he had studied. That's the past perfect form. And still completed action. The future perfect, he will have studied. And those are not easy English ways of saying things. We don't typically like doing all these helping verbs, but we often have to. Most often we're going to say, just put it in simple past tense, he studied. But we can't put it in a perfective. Perfective means he had studied. What does it mean when you say he had studied? There's an implication here. He had studied, and the implication is that there's some result that came from his studying. And so he passed the test, or he's smarter, he's now wiser, whatever the case may be. So we use it to describe, when we use it to describe a state of being, will often be translated with English present tense, he is wise. So this perfective conjugation can be, it's always a completed kind of action, but it can be presented in a past, present, or future, as well as a stative. That's what it's trying to tell you. Does that make sense? You guys okay with that? It's not too much, right? All right. I hope not too simple. So here's how you know. How do I know it's he killed? Well, there's no ending. Katel, he killed. How do I know it's she killed? Well, I'm going to add this suffix to it, the subformative it's called. A kamete. Have you seen a kamete before? Sure. And notice it's feminine. So that should be very recognizable for you. You, second person masculine, is going to be, now the next thing, what we're going to do is we're going to keep doing this tav. This tav becomes very familiar here. And we're going to have the tav with the kamates. And that's you, masculine, killed. Tav with the shava is she or you killed feminine. First common singular. Now, what happens when you say I and we? You're not talking about masculine or feminine. You're talking about first person, whether it's masculine or feminine. So it's called first common singular. I. Yeah, it wouldn't be we. I killed. All right. And so there's no gender associated with I. And so to do that, we use our tav with the hirik yod. Then third common plural, this is new. So a third common plural means there is no gender associated with it. There's no third masculine plural or third feminine plural. It's just they killed. They could be masculine or feminine. So they use a third common plural, and that's going to be the shurik at the end. Second masculine plural, second feminine plural. Again, that tav is very dominant. And then we'll have this final mem with the sagol, or final noon with the sagol, and that tells you whether it's feminine or masculine. So you killed, masculine. You killed, feminine. Or first common plural, we killed. And that would be with that same shirt, but now you put a noon there, and we get we kill. You see what's happening, guys? I mean, are we okay with this? All right, here's the fantastic news. These letters, first position, second position, third consonantal, triconsonantal roots did not change at all. And nor did the vowel system change, except when we had to extend it. And we still have our kamH tav, or kamH tav, or excuse me, kamH padak. But in some cases, and there are rules for it, and we won't get into it now, where we added a vowel but not a consonant, and ultimately then we get this that padak changing to a shava. And so, but generally you still see it. Anyway, I don't know. I don't want to complicate it. So here's the thing. You should almost, without even having studied, almost know what the endings here are. So let's talk through it. If I want to say he killed, what ending do I put here? You're shaking your head no, meaning Ben, there's no ending, right?
No ending because it's already in the masculine.
That's right. It's already in third masculine singular form, right? So there's no ending. It's all right. Now, if I want to make it feminine, she killed, what ending do I put here?
The hate.
Yeah, the comates hey, right? We've already seen that comates hey over and over. We already got the comates there. So that here's your clue. Now, the rest of these, here's your clue. It's going to be with the tav, dogish forte, tav, dogish forte. This one will be different. That one will be different. Tav, dogish forte, tav, dogish forte, and that one will be different. So if I want to make it you, second masculine, what do I put? Now, you've seen this before. This is not new. It's going to be a vowel. It's either going to be a kamate or shava.
It's a
Masculine. Is it going to be a kamate or shava?
kamate.
Yeah, it's going to be kamates, right? And feminine is going to be the shava.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We've seen that kind of thing before. I'm going to show you where you've seen it in a minute. All right. Now, in the first common singular, it's a little different. We're just going to add the shurik. And wait, is that right? First, no,
is the
I'm wrong. Thank you for correcting me.
I remember because the ending for I is the sound E. In Spanish is the same like I.
All right. Let me get back to my. It is a tav here. I forgot about that. But we'll add the hirt yod there, right? Now this is the one that is unique. It is the, I had it mixed up. Let me fix that. That's ugly. It's an ugly. That's not right. A little better. Anyway, the shirt there. And again, we have the tav here for our second masculine and a second feminine. Now, we have the tav with the forte, and I will tell you, in this case, there's the final mem and there's the final noon. What vowels go there? You've seen it before. It's going to be the same thing. Excuse me, right there. And then you have here the same shirk that was up there and with the noon before. Now, where have you seen these before? You've seen these in the pronomial suffixes. Right? In the pronomial suffixes, you had right here, you had the whole involved. Now, remember, pronomial suffix does not go to a verb, not associated with a verb, but we're seeing some of the same patterns, okay? These are nouns, right? That's nomial, nouns. And when you add a pronomial suffix to a noun, it makes it what? Do you remember? What does it do to the noun? When you add a pronomial suffix to it.
It can be possessive.
Possessive, that's right. When you add it to an adjective, or not to a preposition, or the direct object, what does it do to that? It makes it the object. It now becomes it becomes the object of the preposition or the direct object. It becomes the object itself. So the pattern for those were the whole and vav for 3ms. And here in the 3fs, see if I'm going to memory here, we had yeah, I got it right here on that chapter. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, we have the kamete, but we have this little doggish in there. It's called the mapik. Remember that? And for the three, here we have the final cough with the kamate. Here we have the final cough with the shava. In the first common singular, we had the heroic yod. There was no three common. There's no three common plural for the pronominal suffixes. In the second masculine, you had the cough with the seglet and the final mem, the cough with the seglet and the final noon. And then you had here the noon with the sure. You've seen these same kind of patterns. Notice here you have the final noon. Here's the cough with the seglet. Here's the tav with the seglet. You've seen these same patterns before. So you don't have to like start from the beginning. If you remember your pronominal suffix, but know they go with nouns, not verbs, you're going to see the same kind of patterns. There's our kamate hey. There's the kamate, but now it's with tav instead of the final cough. There's the segol or shava, except now it's with the tav and not the final cough. There's the heroic yod right there, but now it's with the tav with the doggish forte. Here's our shirk, that's new. Here's our, instead of the final, the cough with the seglet, you have the tav with the seglet and the final mem. Here's our, instead of the cough with the seglet and the final noon, here you have the tav with the seglet and the final noon. And here's the same thing. How do I know here, pronominal suffix and verb, how do I know that this is first person we killed and not some possessive here pronomen? How do I know it's a pronominal suffix versus a first common plural sufformative? You know, because pronominal suffixes don't go in verbs. So it's always we killed. Yeah, that's the same, but that goes on nouns and that goes on verbs. So that's we killed, and that would be, make it possessive on a noun. Okay, did I confuse you? I'm trying to show that you already know a lot of this. That's what I'm trying to show you. Hopefully I didn't confuse you. Here's the other fantastic thing. When you learn a cow perfect and you learn the suffix, sufformatives, right? So you ending list, kamate hey, tav with a kamate, tav with a shava. There's our tav with a heroic yod. There's the shurik. There's the tav's seglet and final mem, tav seglet and final noon, and our noon shurik. When you learn that, it applies to all other perfect strong verbs. Doesn't matter what the verb is. And notice two things. Number one, the first position, second position, third position, first position, second position, third position, and on down the line doesn't change all the way through. They're all the same, right? There's my Zion Kaf or Yakaf Resh, the Yod Shem Vav Beit. Excuse me. It doesn't change. It becomes very simple to recognize. And generally speaking, you're going to have the same verb vowel structure. That's how I know it's a cow perfect, because I'm going to see that vowel structure. Okay? Makes sense? You see what's happening? All right. Let me see what I want to bring up. Any questions? No questions? All clear as mud? Everybody's good? Obed, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Make sense? Okay. A cow, it's simple kind of action, active voice. Perfect is a completed action or aspect. And strong verbs, meaning the three consonant roots, are strong. They're not gutturals, they're not geminate, they're not biconsonantal, they're not a noon, first noon or first yod. So they're strong, they're not going to change. That makes it life so much simpler. And so to dwell in the kal, it's going to have the kamates product pattern. And so this is Yashav. He, third masculine, it's not to dwell. He dwelled, past tense, completed. Third feminine singular. Yashva, right? Yashva. She dwelled, past tense. Second masculine, so be you, singular, right? Yashav, Yashavta. You, masculine, dwelled, past tense. On down the line, okay? To remember, Zakar, excuse me. I'm trying to remember. This really has like a bat, but in modern pronunciation, really the kamates and the potic have the same sound, like ah and father, and I really go back and forth, and I don't want to confuse you guys, but typically we want to try to translate this as an a short bat. Typically, sometimes I go back and forth, and I apologize for that.
So, brother Dave,
Yeah.
can we as well memorize the pattern of the vowels in each one of these, or is not exactly the same?
No, this is that's a great question, because what we're going to learn, and I'm going to show you this in a minute. This is called the stem vowel. So first position, second position, third consonantal position, right? The second position is where the stem vowel is. That is so important, because when you get to the other derived stems, the nifal, the hifel, the hopel, the puel, pl, hifil, when you get it, then this will be your diagnostic, along with some other things, to tell you what other stem it's in. It will help you tremendously. And so that is our pattern. Now, it does change when we lengthen. We will see it change because we're lengthening. We're adding sufformative, right? But we've already seen what happens when we lengthen. Here, this becomes a shava. It's a closed vowel. And notice you have the mapik, or excuse me, makif. No, I get the three mixed up. The mapik is when you got the dogish in the hay at the last. The makif, M-A-Q-Q-E-F, is that hyphened, raised hyphen. And then you have this right here, right there. And that's called the, I wrote it down because I always forget it. I always do. Methic. It's called the methic, right? The methic tells us that they kamates, and not a kamates hatuf. Probably spelled that wrong, but anyway. So, but yeah, here's the point. It is the same vowel pattern. Now you do exchanges because you lengthen it, but notice the same vowel pattern here. And what happens is you lengthen it. It has to do with this vowel. Here it got linked in with that, and linked in with that. So what that does is that closes this here. That's a closed syllable there. That's a closed syllable there. That's what happens. But here, because that vowel, this becomes the closed syllable. That's what's happening, okay? Now, you don't need to learn all that, but that's what's really happening there. But it is the same vowel pattern, and the changes occur because you really added that vowel. Here you added, there we go, you added that. That's why you get that change there. Here you added a consonant, with the vowel. Here you added a consonant with the vowel. Here you had consonant with the vowel, and here's the consonant with the vowel, but here's the vowel first. It's vowel consonant. This is really the consonant with the vowel, schwa. And that's why this becomes a closed. That's open, that's closed. This becomes closed, that's why. And so, yeah, you see it is the same Kamates Parak, but it changes because the additions you make. That makes sense? Did I confuse everybody? I'm trying my best to confuse you, so hopefully it's working.
It's working.
I realize sometimes I it makes sense to me, but I don't necessarily explain it that well. But I try to show you, okay, why is it changing? Why it is this, but how come it's this? Well, there's a reason, and it has to do with that. Okay, that's what I'm trying to tell you. But it is still this. It just got changed because of that. The same with down here. That got changed because of that. But it's still really this. That's the same pattern. That's my point. That makes sense?
Yep.
But you see the same thing throughout all the words in the cow. It's the exact same pattern. And once you learn these subformatives, the kamates hey, the tav kamates, the tav shava, the tav sigo, or hirik yod, the shurik, the tav sigo final mem, the tav sigo final noon, the tav shurik, or the noon shurik, excuse me. You find it's the exact same thing over and over and over again. It becomes so common. And you'll get very comfortable with it, I promise you. If you do this, you'll get very comfortable with it. And my only other point is that you already seen these. You've already seen this final noon with the shurik on a performative or a pronomial suffix. Now, it doesn't apply to a noun or to a verb, but it did apply to a noun. You've already seen that here. You've already seen this final cough or the cough with the final noon in a pronomial suffix. Well, it's the same thing, except we take the cough out and put the tav there, and it applies to the verb. That's my point. You've already seen it. So you don't want to mix up a pronomial suffix with a subformative or the suffix to a verb, perfect verb, but you have a similar pattern, is my point. And so the pattern shouldn't be that difficult for you. Okay? All right. All right, so now what happens when you add the subformative, right? This is what subformative, anybody remember? The answer's there for you. It is the tav with the kamates is going to be the 2ms, masculine. I always remember that as masculine. I always remember that as feminine. It makes life easy for me. I always remember the hey with the kamates is always going to be feminine. That's not always, normally. And those things always just, okay, that's feminine. I recognize that's, whether I got a tav here or a cough there, whether I got a final mem or a final mem here, that cough and that tav, but that kamates is going to tell me, well, here's a segol, okay? It's going to tell me that it's masculine. But that shava versus a final noon, it's going to tell me it's feminine. Those kind of things just make it so much easier once you sort of see that pattern. That's what I'm trying to bring out, okay? All right, but what happens when the word itself, here's our word, right? Position 1, position 2, position 3, the word itself ends in a tav. Now we're adding this tav everywhere. We're adding a tav for the second masculine singular. We're adding the tav to a second feminine, to the first common singular, right, with the hirik yod, tav, and the tav. God, it's an ugly tav. So we're adding it. What happens to it? Well, you should know already. Basically, this assimilates into that, and it's represented by that doggish forte. And that's why you get that. Now, the only real problem is the 3FMS, if you go back to it, clear this up. Already has a doggish forte. That is a doggish forte. That is not a doggish lane. And you know that because what precedes it is a consonant, not a vowel. What precedes it is a consonant. That makes it a doggish forte. If it was preceded by a short vowel, it'd be a doggish lane name. So anyway, I think that's right. So basically, that's the only part that kind of confuses me. But ultimately, here's the point. When the word itself ends in a tav, basically it assimilates. And this doggish forte, although it's already there, basically duplicates it. That's what the forte does, right? It duplicates. Okay.
And as well, when you write it, the first one took the Shiva. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're just trying to highlight everything's the same. So verbal sufformatives, the sufformative, when they come against up against a word that ends in a tav, that's all they're saying is this assimilates into that. That's it. Okay. Same thing with this noon. It looks a little different, but the same thing. So we have this first common plural sufformative ending, right? It's the noon shurik. And when you put it up against, comes against a word that ends in a noon, it wants to do the same thing. And basically, it's going to assimilate like that, and you get the doggish forte in there. Okay. The same thing happens, although I've never really studied why. When you have, here's our sufformative, right? That is a first common singular sufformative. This one's a first common plural sufformative, right? The tav with the hirik yod is a first common singular. When it comes up against a word that ends in a noon, remember, noon we already said is a weak. Uh-oh, go away. I don't know who you are. Now you messed me up. That's the problem when you use your iPad for some of this stuff. It still functions connected to my phone. Okay, so there's our sufformative. Here's our sufformative. So that's the word that ends in a noon, and what happens, that noon will assimilate. When it assimilates here, it's pretty simple. You just becomes a doggish forte there. When it assimilates here, the tav is strong. The noon is not. So it assimilates into that doggish forte. And so the noon falls off and it assimilates with the doggish forte. So that may be a little odd because you're like, oh, the noon goes in the tav. Well, yeah, because the tav is strong, the noon is not. That's all that is. Okay. Okay, now we're switching gears. And if you're following along in the book, because we are going in order of the book, by the way, I think we're on page, page 133, 13.10. So here's the thing with state of verbs, right? Is, was, to be, kind of stuff, to be wise, he is wise, he is old, she is small, those kind of things. Our call stem perfect conjugation. The perfect conjugation is depicted by the kamates para. Well, that's still true, but when we get to the state of verbs, this to be, is, was, some verbs will maintain that form. Kamates parak. Kamates parak. All right, that's called a parak stative, right? In other words, it stays the same, nothing changes. But some of the verbs will actually have, instead of a parak, we'll have a sere state, called a sere stative. So do we have the kamates? What is sere? Kamates, what is sere? That's called a sere stative verb. It functions the same way. He is, she is, it is, they are, heavy, old, is. It's still is, was, are, etc. And then you have some verbs that will use the holum, and it's called a holum stative. All right. Those are still Kyle perfect. But because they're stative and not transitive or intransitive, but because they're stative, they can have three different forms, three different classes: a podic stative, a sere stative, and a holum stative. Does that make sense? You guys okay? Now, which ones are which? I have no idea. I guess you can learn the vocabulary and know that. But here's the point. When you come across yakol, or katol, to be small or to be able, and you're like, oh, that's not a cow perfect. It's not a perfect. What is that? Well, it's a stative. Is a small, is able. Oh, wait a minute, it's a stative. It could be a holum stative. That's the key. And that's what happens. So I promise you, you'll have trouble remembering and recognizing that. I'm sure you will. I do. But once you see it, you go like, oh, yeah, I remember that now.
Brother Dave?
Yeah.
I remember that word zaken. So how can we know when it's just a noun and when it's to be old?
Oh, well, good. Well, thanks for bringing that up. We're going to bring that up in just a minute here when we get to like adjectives. So obviously the answer is going to be context for you, David. A verb, if I remember right, a verb in the imperfect conjugation will almost always be in the very beginning of the clause or the sentence, right? Almost always. But the perfect may not. Matter of fact, the perfect is generally not. I wrote that down somewhere. I don't remember where I wrote it, but anyway, or maybe it's written in here for me. But generally speaking, I guess under syntax, there's a place in here about syntax, I think. I can't find it. Anyway, so context is going to be your answer, and if you try to make it a verb, you'll find it doesn't work. He is old. Wait a minute. It's being used as an adjective, the old man. So remember, our adjectives generally follow. We have our noun, adjective, generally follow the noun, and so it's describing the noun. So if you have the verb there, old, is old, it really won't fit. So context is going to be your answer here. And I'm going to go over adjectives here in a minute because that's a great question. It leads into that. But here, our stative verbs, because it's stative, will have three different classifications. Podic stative, which you've already seen, a come-8 podic. Sere stative, now it's a come-8 sere pattern. And then a come-8 holum pattern. Those are the three different patterns you could see for a stative verb. I'll touch more on your question in a minute, David. So in these stative verbs, these are all call perfect. So we hadn't changed. It's call perfect. But because it's stative, we can have a podic, a sere, or a holum. Here's our strong, right? Our strong base with the suffirmatives. Notice the suffirmatives did not change. They are all exactly the same. But some words like kaved is going to have a sere. And it uses sere when it's functioning statively, not it is. So it is or was. But if it's functioning in a transitive way, and I don't remember what kaved means, so it may not even be able to do that, then it would have the podic and not the sere. A holum stative, we'll just have the holum there. Katon. Yeah. And so anyway. Time is it? I don't got time. Now here's where it comes up to what you're talking about. A stative verb, like in the call perfect 3ms, has this pattern with the come-8 or sere, come-8 sere, come-8 sere. For a sere stative verb. All right. Well, that's the same pattern as you just mentioned, David, for some adjectives. Old, heavy, full, unclean, hungry. How do you know? Well, the answer is going to be is that one's going to be an adjective, one's going to be a verb, and you'll know it because it's context, right? Difference between the stative verb and its corresponding adjective is one that is inflected as a verb, and the other is inflected as an adjective. In other words, one's used as a verb and one's used as an adjective. It'd be pretty hard to mess it up in the sentence because this is going to be the heavy, let's say, no, do it this way. Trying to figure out how to spell man. How do you spell man? Isha, right? Isha is, yeah. Ish, Shah. I can't even spell man.
Ish
Ish.
is a man.
Ish and Isha is woman.
Yeah, Isha is woman. Yeah, thank you. So Ish, how do you spell Ish?
I think it's like that.
Like that, right? Yeah, that looks right. Okay. All right, so for an adjective generally follows wrote in the wrong spot. Did exactly what I didn't want to do. An adjective would generally follow, so there's one. I wrote in the right spot. I was right. Man, I can't do anything right today, guys. Okay, Ish Kabade, heavy man. Man is heavy. It's probably not a good example. Whereas a stative verb, it would be more like the man is heavy. I don't know. It's probably not a good example. I didn't think through this. So one's going to function as an adjective. It's going to describe the noun, and one's going to be function in a qualitative way. It is the man is. Yeah, I think it would end up being more like this. I think I'm going to memory. It'd be written more like that, and the idea would be is man is heavy, and you'll know that in the context versus a heavy man. You know, is it describing him or is it qualitatively speaking, you know, qualitatively about him? In other words, they're equal. Man and heavy are the same. Man is heavy. I don't know if that helps or not. It probably didn't. Maybe you guys can clear it up because you're smarter and some of you guys speak like 20 languages, so it should be easy for you. Any thoughts, guys? The answer, David, is context. That's really the answer.
Yeah, I was thinking like the no, I don't know, something like the purpose of the commandments are not to be heavy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not to be burdensome, heavy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm, you know, beyond my contemporaneous thought process. You know, I have to look at it. Extemporaneous, not extemporaneous thought process. All right. The point being is that some of these stative verbs can look like the adjective, but context will help you determine that. Now, when you parse a verb, it's really quite simple. You're going to start with the stem. It's a cow stem. How do I know it's a cow stem? Well, I know there's root 1, root 2, root 3, and I got that. That's my cow stem. It's in the perfect. Well, how do I know it's in the perfect? Well, because I got this vowel pattern. Notice you really can't tell the difference between a cow stem and a perfect. You can't tell one's cow or one's perfect without them together. That's my point. They got to be together. So you will say cow, perfect. Now this happens to be the first common singular subformative, right? If it was tav with the kamates, it would be the second masculine singular. If it was a tav with the shava, it'd be the second feminine singular. So cow, perfect, so our stem, that's how we write it, our conjugation. And then the subformative. And then you'll put either the lexical form is always the third masculine singular cow, not always, because if it exists, not every word has a cow perfect form. Third masculine singular, cow perfect, third masculine singular, that's the order. Then you would put how its lexical form, or the consonantal form. Root 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? And then you put the translation. It is not to remember. It's not I remember. It's I remembered, because it's perfect. So it's a completed action. You have to show the completed action. If it was imperfect, it would then be I remember. Then it might be I remember. Ongoing kind of action. But because it's perfect, it's going to be completed. Okay, here shamerti is a cow stem, perfect conjugation, second feminine. There's our second feminine, and it is from the lexical form shamar, to speak or to observe. Excuse me, or you can put the consonantal form. Either way is correct, and it'd be you. And you have to say it's you, because that's you. Second feminine singular, you have to say that. So you said second feminine, now you got to say you observed past tense. It's because it's in the perfect. That's how you translate it, and that's how you parse it, okay? Cow, perfect, form, subformative, lexical form or consonantal root, and then its translation with the subformative and with the conjugation. Make sense? Okay.
One more time.
Yeah. Patrick, go ahead.
Can you please go over it again?
Can I what?
Can you repeat the past and what you just did once more?
The past?
The person, what you just did with the person,
Past.
how you identify them.
The person or the tense?
I'm trying to understand when you say
Second feminine singular. Is that what you mean, Patrick?
you mean like the subformative? Second feminine? Okay. So good question. I know that this subformative, this one right here is a first common singular. This one right here is a second feminine singular. And I know that because I learned this. And when I put that to the word, katal is third masculine singular. Katla is third feminine singular. So it's she killed, past tense. Katlat, katlata, you, second masculine, killed, past tense. Katalt, you, second feminine, killed, past tense. And on down the line, here's my first common singular, I killed, past tense. Third common, they killed, past tense. You, plural, masculine, killed. You, feminine, plural, killed, past tense. And first common, we killed, past tense. Does that help? That make sense, Patrick? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you really want to be able to write these, nothing. See if I could do it. Hey, Tav, with the Kamates, the Tav, with the Segol. It's a nice little pattern here. It makes life so much easier. The Hirik, this is the first common Shurik. This would be, again, the Tav. See, that Tav makes life so much easier. And we'll put the Seglets here with the final Mem. And then we'll put the Tav, same Tav with the same Seglet. But now we'll put the final Noon. And here we'll put our Noon with the Shurik. That's what you got to know. And that's what's going to determine first common plural, second feminine plural, second masculine plural, third common plural, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how you know it's we, you. Remember, the verb has embedded in it. That's what this suffix is. The person. So who's doing the action? Well, he killed. How do you know it's he? Well, because it's endingless. She killed. How do you know that? Because it's a kamete. You killed, masculine singular. You did it. Patrick, you killed. Well, I know it's you because second masculine singular. I mean, that's how you do that. But you know, it's past tense, and because it's in the perfect conjugation. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So you do really want to know and memorize these. My point is, it shouldn't be that hard to memorize because you already saw them in the pronoun. Most of it, you saw the same pattern, similar pattern in the pronomial suffixes for nouns, not for verbs. Don't get them mixed up. I don't want to mix you up for nouns. Okay, do that. All right, so the negative particle. So the perfect and the imperfect verbs can be negated, or like do not kill, do not commit adultery, right? And for the perfect and the imperfect verbs, the conjugations, they'll use this negative particle lo, meaning no or not. It can be also spelled with the whole vav, right? You should already know that. You've seen it before. We remember this is really the defective form. And this is the more ancient form with the whole vav. But the negative particle is always placed immediately before the verb. Here's our no or not, right before the verb. You did not observe the laws. Did not observe. There's to observe. Shamar, first, second, third. Here, look at this. Here's our suffix, our sufformative, right? And it's the tav with the, I know it's an ugly. There we go, it's a little better. What sufformative is that? Well, it's this final mem that tells me it's masculine. It's plural, so it's going to be what, the second masculine plural form. So you did not observe. There's the observes. And here's our direct object marker. Direct object, did not observe what? Did not observe what? Well, this tells me what? The laws, plural, Torah. You did not observe the laws. Okay? It's like a little puzzle. You just take each piece at a time. Don't look at the whole thing and get overwhelmed. Start looking at the pieces. Find the pieces. There's root 1, root 2, root 3. Oh, what's that? Oh, okay. That's a second masculine singular sufformative for you singular. What's that? That's the direct object marker. Oh, that's telling me it's the object of the verb to remember. I think that's to remember. So that would be, because it's second masculine singular, it's you remembered. You remembered. You did not, because we have the no. You did not. We'll say not. Remember what? You did not remember. There's our, let's see. Well, this is where it gets fun, because I don't know if this is the article, and I think it is. And this is where I got to remember what that is. So that's the fun part. You did not remember the answer. There you go.
The covenant.
Yeah, the covenant. Yeah, barit. Thank you very much. It is barit. Barit. So that is the word right there. See, this is where it's easy to get confused. At least for me. You guys, look, David already knows it, so he's smart. Barit, the covenant. The covenant. It's 1, 2, 3. That's what I was struggling with. And this is our direct object marker, and that's the definite article. So you did not remember the covenant. Okay. Now here's the fun thing. Do not try to memorize this. No, oh no, what do I do? So here's our col stem right here. Let me change the color so we can see it. Here's our col. All these others, nip-file, hip-file, hope-file, hope-file, well, there's hope-file U class, hope-file O class, we'll get that later, PL, PUL, and hip-file, all derive from the col. So I want you to know the col. And here's the thing. I want you to notice the exact same word is being used in this particular example, katal. And it's the same word. And so I got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's the same thing over and over again, right? Especially the strong verbs, our consonants did not change, but we did put a prefix to it. We did put a prefix to it. We did put a prefix to it, and we did put we changed the vowel structure there. And what's happened is our consonants remain the same over and over. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and we put a prefix or suffix to it. Well, the suffix also does not change. There's our ending list for third masculine singular, right? I'm trying to get you to see all that. There's our kamh tav with the second masculine singular. You see it's the same thing. So once you learn it in the kal, you know it for all the others. That's my point. Not only has the consonants remained the same, the suffixes will remain the same. So once you know this, the rest of this is easy. Now you got to see, well, what changed and why did it change? Well, they added a noon here. Oh, wait a minute, that's a nifal. Oh, look, they have this hieroc here. And oh, by the way, this second position becomes so important. They changed the vowel system in many places. And that's going to help me to know that that's the hip vowel. And on down the line. We won't go through all of them now because that's what we'll do the next few months. But here's my point. Once you learn the cow, the rest of this is just, okay, what changed? And then I just look at what changed, and then I can recognize what the stem is, and knowing this is the completed or the simple action. Okay, the nifal is the simple action active voice. This is a simple action passive voice. That's the only change now, right? I'm still in the perfect conjugation. I had switched conjugations. Hifal, hifil, hofal, and PL, puel. It's going to be causative or it's going to be intensive. It's going to be passive. It's going to be active. And but in the perfect, it's still going to be completed. So once you learn one, you just apply it over and over again. It's real. This is why I say it's really, in many ways, easier to learn Hebrew than most other languages, or easier than Greek. Because once you get this down, all the rest of this is just minor modifications. And you begin to see the pattern. So you don't really learn that much more new. That much more new? Yeah, that's wrong. Any questions, guys? Did I really throw you out, confuse you a lot?
It's all good.
It's all good? Ben's got it. Good. If you
Not
have any
tough.
questions, if you have a question, we got time because the next class is actually a recorded class, so I don't have to worry about getting off as soon. So if you have any questions, we can go back over anything you want. for me, what really made life simpler in Hebrew is to recognize this. Root 1, root 2, root 3, triconsonantal form. What am I putting on the suffix to it? What am I putting on the prefix to it? And what is the vowels, especially the vowel stem, the stem vowel? Once I begin to understand and see that, yeah, I have to remember what's what, but it's easier. So it doesn't really matter what consonants I put here. You know, if I'm going to make if it's going to be a perfect, cow perfect, if it's going to be Nephal, and I've changed these two again. I mean, that recognizing this makes it so much easier. And then if I want 3MS, first common plural, I just got to know that suffix form for the perfect. Now, when we get to the imperfect, basically we won't have the suffix, we'll have a prefix to it. And so it'd be, you know, anyway, that's it. Any questions? No?
The big part, brother, that you mentioned, with the whole Nifal and Hefil, Hofal, is this part in this little sheet? Do you see it?
Yeah, it's all in there. Yeah, that
Oh.
sheet, if you guys had that, I don't know how everybody has it or not. I didn't order it for everyone yet. I will try to order it when we get to Hebrew 2. I didn't want to order everything at once because one, it's very expensive. And two, although that's only, I think that's $12, $15, something like that. But 12, 15 times 19, we started with 19, we're down to 12. And of the 12, there's really probably 9 that are active. And so I'm trying to make sure I understand what's going to happen with the others. So, you know, buying 19 Hebrew books, 19 Hebrew workbooks, 19 other workbooks, 19 of those little laminated cheat sheets, which I do want you to have. I said, no, I'm going to wait on the cheat sheet until we get to Hebrew 2 and see who stays, kind of thing. So that's why not everybody has it yet. But yeah, it's useful to have. But it's like, I can't remember, it's $10, $12, $15 each. But I said, well, let's see who sticks it out, and we'll go from there. I'm grateful. You know, normally you might have 3 people taking Hebrew, and even when I was a Reed Hardeman, you might have 5 people taking Hebrew. So to have 19, I was like, wow. Now I knew not all 19 would stay; it's just not normal. But I'm grateful there's 12 of us still. Now, not all 12 are in the class. That bothers me a bit, but we generally get most of the 9. Maybe not consistently, but most of the 9 in the class. And I could tell whether you're keeping up or not. It's pretty simple to see. So if you have any questions or problems, by all means, let me know. You know, we're trying to help. We're tutoring a couple of people. Well, neither one of them are in class right now, so that's bothersome. But we're glad to help where we can. Friday's intended to, like, hey, Dave said this, but I didn't understand it. I do go back and watch a little bit. I don't watch it all, but I do go back and watch and see what's happening on those Friday classes, and to see if there's something that maybe I'm not explaining properly, or maybe they might have misstated something, or there's some confusion still. So I try to watch it and see if there's something I need to bring up. But for the most part, it seems pretty good. Hope you like it. You know. All right, if there's no questions, I guess we'll be done.
Hello.
Because, oh,
Brother
David,
Dave.
I'm sorry. Oh, Patrick, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so the Hebrew roots are the consonants without the vowel points.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the Hebrew root would be the consonants without the vowel pointing. That's correct. And so, you know, it carries the basic meaning, but the meaning doesn't apply until you put it in its context. And when you put it in its context, you'll have both the stem and the conjugation.
All right.
Both will be there in its context. And so You can't have one without the other, is my point. You can't have a stem without the conjugation. You can't have a cow without a perfect or imperfect. You can't have a nifal without imperative or perfect. They have to be together. Otherwise, they're not really anything. And so, yeah, you have the root, which is your 3-position consonantal, or 2-position if it's only a triconsonantal. 1, 2, 3. And you'll have your stem plus the conjugation, and that will, whatever the stem is, cow, nifal, plus the perfect or imperfect or whatever we're going to do. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, but the meaning, and that's an important point, Patrick, the meaning comes when you put it in its context with the stem and the conjugation. Because how do you know it's a completed action? How do you know it's an ongoing action? Well, you don't until you give it the conjugation. How do you know if it's a simple kind of action, unnuanced, or if it's intensified, or if it's causative? Well, you don't until you put the stem in its context with its stem and its conjugation. So the root carries a basic meaning but has no meaning until you put it in context with stem and conjugation. All right.
Right. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else, guys? All right. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. See you.
Huh?
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Ben. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Y'all enjoy. If you got any questions, just give me a holler. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.